Please enjoy this Lifeline Master Series with Diane McCann. Hello, Diane McCann. Infinite love and gratitude.
Infinite love and gratitude, Dr. Darren.
So this is going to be a very special Lifeline Master Series because, you and I have a special relationship and friendship and connection on so many levels. And so I'm so honored that I have this opportunity to highlight you because has it been 9 years?
It's been it's been 9 years.
9 years since you and I have first met each other. And I'm excited to go into this journey that we've shared. But the Lifeline Master Series, for those people that are watching for the first time, is all about highlighting people in the world that are showing up in a masterful way, that have a vision, have a passion, and live life with purpose. And as a result, are making a positive impact in raising the consciousness in humanity. And you, my beautiful goddess friend, teacher of teachers, are one of them. And I want to give people a little bit of a background about you. You're an astrologer. You're certified in neurolinguistic programming, educational kinesiology, massage, chakra balancing, emotional freedom technique, and rebirthing techniques. You are, my love, a certified Lifeline practitioner and the director of training for the Lifeline Technique throughout Australia and Asia. You created the Goddess Within trainings in 1987 as a way to empower women. And 12 years later, you created Man's Inner Journey with your husband, my beautiful friend, Robert Matthews. And together, you've taught couples the art of Tantra for over 25 years. You've been in private practice for now nearly 50 years. And we met because I'm hanging out at home with my beautiful wife, Sarit, and I say to her, like 3 days before I receive an email from you, God, I'd love to teach in Australia. And then I received an email from you. And that email was because you were driving between Adelaide and Melbourne. And you read my first book, The Power of Infinite Love and Gratitude.
Correct.
And made a statement that if a half of what you wrote in this book is true, I've got to learn this technique. My next training was in Tel Aviv, in Israel. And you wanted to come, but Robert wouldn't let you go. And so you ended up coming over to the States, to Chicago. And fill us in on that. I would love for you to I'd love to hear your experience of this, because the beginning and throughout our entire relationship has been something that has been extraordinary for me.
Thank you. Excuse me, I got a frog. Just let me have a drink. So I have been really ill for 9 years, and I had tried absolutely everything to fix my problem. My body speaking to me with the symptoms of really severe exophthalmos. And so we were driving to Melbourne, and I did read your book. And
for people that don't know what exophthalmos is, do you mind saying what that is?
I can show you. Can you see that? I actually could not close my eyelids over my eyeballs. My eyes were just staring. And so they were painful, light affected, and I felt really ugly, because I didn't look like me. And I had no idea who the person was that was looking back at me in the mirror. So, and that came from a thyroid condition. So, yeah, I read your book because, as soon as I get in a car, especially driving for 10 hours, I just read. So I got to Melbourne and I said to Robert on the way, I have to go and meet this man. And he just rolled his eyes because I've done that a few times in my life with various things. So, yeah, I got to Melbourne and I remember sending you this email and saying, so, do you have any practitioners in Australia? Are you coming to Australia? And if not, when's your next training? And immediately you wrote back to me. And you said, my wife, Sarit, my beautiful wife, Sarit, her family lives in Canberra.
Right.
And I would love to come to Australia. I've just been asking the universe to send me someone from Australia.
Right.
But you said, no, I don't have any practitioners there yet. So then we had the discussion about Tel Aviv. And so I decided I would come to Chicago. And the moment that I walked into that room and I saw you, I knew that I knew you. And it was so weird because the things that you did in that training, not the things that you did in teaching, because I'd never experienced that before, but, some of the music that you played, a video that you played, same music, same video that I use in my Goddess Within. And it was like, no, this is ridiculous. Two people, two opposing sides of the planet, both using the same music. So that was the beginning of our connection, Darren. And I fell in love with you then, and I'm still in love with you now.
It's so cool. And it's amazing because we have been now going through this journey for now 9 years. And what I have gotten to experience in knowing you as a friend and a teacher is that you embrace life with passion. And the number one word that I not only learned but have experienced just firsthand from you and everyone who gets to the honor and blessing of meeting you is integrity. And you live your life with integrity. And in this Master Series, our vision is to share with people what it looks like in the day of a life of someone who is choosing to show up and has a particular vision and applies the tools that they've read about and studied about and taught and teach, but actually live it, because that is integrity. And what does a day in the life look like for Diane McCann?
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm a really organized person because I wear lots of hats. So I have your hat and I have the goddess hat and the man's inner journey hat and the newsletter hat and the tantra hat and the, so it's different from one person who's focused on one thing, I guess. So in order to live my life, I need to be incredibly organized. So I'm the kind of person who will soak 10 kilos of almonds and 2 kilos of sunflower seeds and soak them and sprout them because I guess if I use your words and go push pause, because my health was so terrible, I made a commitment to do whatever I could to actually fix it on a physical level. So that includes eating organic food. It includes, soaking and sprouting everything. It includes making kefir once a week, making kombucha. So they're the things that I do to ensure that my day-to-day living is easier because I don't have to think about, I really want to make something that's got almonds in it or whatever. I just go to the freezer and pull out a bag that's got 2 cups of almonds in it. So then I can make almond milk or, so my day starts pretty much, I wake up and Robert and I do a tantric connection twice a day. So we start with it and we end with it. And it's very beautiful. I'm not talking about making love. I'm talking about a really powerful, heart connection. It's a meditation, and it takes 30 minutes. So we start our day with that, and we end our day with that.
And what does that look like? What does that mean?
Do you really want to know?
Yeah.
Well, it means that, how can I put this gently? It means that sexually we're connected, but we're actually not making love. So, the art of Tantra is very different from normal making love. And in normal making love, you need an erection and, it's about movement. And in Tantra, it's not like that. It's about, the way I like to describe it is, if you're playing music and you're such a great pianist, it's not the notes. It's not the notes that make the music. It's the spaces in between the music.
Right on.
And so for Tantra, it's the same thing. It's not about the movement, which everyone knows. In lovemaking, it's about the space in between. So we start our day with him inside me and just having our hearts in a heart connection and looking at each other. And it's beautiful. I mean, it's so different from lovemaking. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. And out of the 7 days out of the week, how many days a week do you begin and end your day with Tantra connection?
We are totally committed to having that connection, because without it, stuff gets in the way. You don't always want to make love, but I always want to meditate. So I would say 7 days a week.
Beautiful. Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, there's the odd day where I might have to get up early to do a webinar or something, and we might wake up late, or, if one of us isn't feeling brilliant, as in health, then we may not. If Robert wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I mean, our commitment is that no matter what, I will make a noise if he gets up, because he's a really early riser and I'm not. So if he gets up, like right now, as you know, the Olympics are on. So he says to say hi because he's watching America play basketball.
Oh, good boy.
So, I will let him know that I'm up, and he will come back to bed, and we will do that connection. And it's just something that we committed to. It's no different from doing yoga every day or going for a run every day. But it's a time for us, and it's what keeps us totally connected. So it's so beautiful, and I'm so grateful for it. And we were even doing it in the days when I was very close to death. When I say that lightly, but I'm serious. I was very close to dying when I was ill. And that at least kept me here. It gave me something to keep my heart open, to give me a reason to stay. And it wasn't for us about making love or having sex. So pretty much that's how I start my day. And then I like to do my connection, my Lifeline connection. And I like to give thanks to the people in my life and the things in my life. Sometimes I do that in my connection with Robert, and sometimes afterwards. And I've got a desk fight, which you've seen me kind of doing this because I'm under. I am not a physical person. It took me 50 years to even know that I had a body. So for me, the idea of getting up and going for a run is like, I could think of nothing worse. It just doesn't appeal to me. So I have to do things that I love. So I just bought this great device, which I love it. It's as well as my bike. So when I finally get downstairs, I jump on this machine, which is like a flat board. And when you have your feet together, it's like you're walking. And when you have your feet a bit further apart, it's like you're jogging. And when you have your feet way apart, it's like you're running. So I always do 10 minutes twice a day on that. So that's pretty much an hour. I do my best to get to yoga or do some yoga, and not Bikram yoga like you do and Michael does, but yoga that I enjoy. Because I figure there's no point doing things that you don't enjoy just because they're good for you. If you hate it, then, I mean, it's like there's only one thing I do that I hate, and that is eating fermenting vegetables. I absolutely hate them. But I really eat them every day because that's one thing that I can just do one dessert spoon of this stuff that I make and know that the microbiome of my gut is going, thank you, Diane, thank you. So they're things that I like to do before my day gets started. I also make it a habit every single day to honour and acknowledge someone in some way for something. And I'm very known for walking down a street and telling someone that they're really beautiful. Or, my favourite story is I was pulled up at the stoplights one day, and this woman, she was probably about 50, was walking across the road, and she looked really down, her shoulders were down, but she was really attractive. So I beat the horn and I went, "You look beautiful." And she got it, and her shoulders went back and she kind of walked across the road, kind of having that sense of knowing, that someone saw her. So I do a lot of that kind of thing. Like I'm always sending cards to people and just writing little notes to people and telling them that I love them and how important they are to me in my life. I'm an acknowledger, and I'm a networker, and I'm a communicator. So words are really important to me.
Well, that doesn't come just overnight for somebody to have a Tantra exercise to begin and end their day for 30 minutes, to soak their seeds and sprout them, to do their board that you just bought, or you're bicycling when we're talking, and all the different things. As far as your journey of really waking up to the importance of it, and you talked about it because you showed the picture of the extremeness of the exophthalmos, the thyroid disease, and that you were very close to death, and that the Tantra was something that literally was a lifeline for you and kept your heart in the game. What's your view as far as stress and how you define it? And obviously you've got an approach towards it that is very optimally, holistically, gauged. What's your view on stress, Diane?
Well, I think that it's everywhere. I mean, stress is everywhere. You only have to turn on the television, watch Facebook. Stress is just, we're surrounded by it. And, what I know is that stress can wipe out your gut flora, like that. So it's like stress for me comes from being attached, for one thing, being attached to how you think things should be. But you're supposed to love me this way, or, my boss was supposed to do that. So stress comes from, lack of stress can come from being detached, but stress comes from being attached to how we think life should look through our eyes. But also it comes from a lack of self-worth, I reckon, because, my bottom line, I've been running Goddess now for 29 years. I did my first workshop when I was 13, and I'm nearly 70. So, that's a long time to be in a private practice and have thousands of people come to the door with whatever their story is. I think we get attached to the story. And what I see is that people just don't love themselves, People don't have the tools. They were not given the tools as children. They think somebody else can do it for them, and they don't have high enough self-worth to detach from the goings on in the world, so that they can actually just take a breath and go, oh, you know what, none of this is real anyway. Is it? I mean, your favorite story about perception. it's like what we see isn't necessarily the truth. The stories that we make up. I had a classic with that, Darren. My brother left home when I was 14. When he was 14 and I was only 7. So I really didn't know him. And I didn't see him again until for 21 years. And I can still see us sitting on the stairs of the home that he lived in, talking about our parents. And his view of our parents was 100% different. Like, he was looking this way about how he saw them, and I was looking this way. And when we finished talking about how we perceived our upbringing, I said to him, "Are you serious? Are we talking about the same parents?" And of course, that's our stuff that we need to work through. So, yeah, I think stress is everywhere. And I think the secret to living a really healthy life is to detach and to be really clear about what the truth is.
It's really powerful because yesterday, it was wild. Actually, yesterday, the night before, 2 days ago, I came home. It was about 11 o'clock at night. I knew I was going to be working on my computer. We're cleaning out our garage, so I parked my car on the driveway. And I thought, well, I'll just leave my briefcase in my car. And we live in a very remote area in the forest area. And I left my briefcase in there. And I always lock the door anyways. And I went inside and I came out the next morning to go to Bikram yoga. And I looked out and I was like hallucinating because I saw my red briefcase on the street. And I'm like, what is that doing on the street? And then all of a sudden I'm like, I panicked. My heart's like, and I look inside my car and it's disheveled all over the place, papers everywhere. And I run and my computer, I'm using my wife's computer right now, it's gone. It's been heisted. So I didn't even recognize the level of what's on there. All these PowerPoints that I've done for years, gone. And in love and gratitude to me, I didn't back it up. Here's a lesson for everybody. Master Series. This was not a Master Series move on my part. I didn't back up. We might still be able to find it, but we're looking. My kids' videos of when they were babies, all these things, and might not ever get them back. But I realized, because you asked me, because we were talking about it, like what's the lesson? Attachment. And so as you're in this place where you, with very high self-esteem, begin and end your day in the most intimate connection with another person, which it takes self-love to love someone else and to hold a space, right?
Yeah.
For you to be in this place where you can detach and see that bigger picture, would you say that there was defining moments or circumstances that were traumatic that you learned from or that you experienced as a result that helped you to think, I need to do this, otherwise I'm not going to? Like, were there particular defining moments or call to action where you woke up to this?
Many. My first defining moment was when I started school and I was 5 years old. And it was about the time because I was born in England, it was the time in England where they started bringing people in from the West Indies, Pakistan, places like that. So in my class, there were a couple of kids who had brown skin. And I just thought they were so beautiful. But they got teased and tormented like you wouldn't believe. I got teased because I was fat and I could not see. And so I got into trouble all the time because I couldn't see the blackboard because my parents didn't know that I needed to wear glasses, right? So, I got teased, they got teased. And at 5, I made a decision that I would never judge people by what they looked like or by the color of their skin.
Wow.
And why couldn't we have peace on the planet? And I was 5 years old, and it was such a powerful like a light switch going on in my head. And then my next defining moment was when I was 11 and we emigrated to Australia, and we had not been in this country very long, 6 months, and I was raped. And it was a really vicious rape. I was tied down, and I had never seen a penis. I had no idea what sex was. I mean, I was like an innocent, 7-year-old or something. I'd never seen pictures, nothing. And so because I did not have a communicative, I didn't have a relationship with my parents. I mean, they worked from 7:30 in the morning until 11 o'clock at night, 6.5 days a week. And we had a business. The business was attached to the shop. The business was attached to the house. So, my job in the morning was to get up, make my bed, make sure everything was clean and tidy, have my own breakfast from a very early age. Every night of my life, I had a jam sandwich on white bread sitting in front of the television. So no wonder my health wasn't that brilliant. But it was like I didn't know these people. So when I was raped, there was no place to go with that. I mean, I couldn't go to them and tell them because we'd never really had a conversation. So one day I caught a tram into the city to go to the library, because from the time I was 5, when the world made no sense, if it didn't make sense at 5, now it definitely didn't make sense, and I wanted to be off this planet. But, of course, it's not as easy as it sounds. So books were a way of taking me out of my reality of life and giving me a fantasy. So I was a voracious reader, and to this day I still am. Thank God for that. So I caught a bus to what I thought was going to be the library, and I got there. Well, I got off at this bus stop, and there was a bookshop there, and it wasn't the library, but I went in. And the truth is that I just was besotted by all of these books it was the Theosophical Society that I actually walked into. And there were all
Rudolf Steiner Theosophical?
Just the whole Theosophical, not even Steiner, just the whole Theosophical Society with Alice Bailey and all of the ancients, all their books. And I was like, I'm in heaven. But while I was looking at the books, and I was not even 12, so I was really little, I noticed all these old 70-year-old people with white hair coming in the door and going in this little room. And they were all going, there were about 20 of them. And I thought, well, I wonder what's going on there. So I followed them, and I sat right in the back of this room because I was very shy.
What age are you here?
Nearly 12, not quite 12. So I sat in the back of this room, and everybody that came with a flower. And the flower was wrapped up in alfoil. And so I sat at the back, and I was just sitting there really kind of nervous, like what's going to happen. And there were about 3 or 4 people at the front of the room behind a table. And one of them, all the flowers were put on the front table. Somebody would pick up a flower, and they would unwrap it, and then they would hold it, and then they would say, there's someone behind the gentleman in the yellow T-shirt with no hair. He's standing behind you, and the message that he has is, and I'm looking, and I can't see anyone. But by the end of that day, I knew that there was way more to this world than what you could see, taste, touch, hear, or smell.
So you went into a mediumship reading, right? At almost 12. It was a medium.
Yeah, there were 4 of them.
Oh, my God, how cool.
But I didn't know that. So I just kept going back because they were there every Saturday.
Oh, my God.
So
Cool.
I went back every Saturday, and I found my first teacher, and I did my first workshop when I was 13. And my teacher, I sat with her from the time I was 13 till I was 26. And I studied all the invisible things of the world. And so that made it really clear for me. My wake-up call was, you are a soul. You are not your physical body. You are here to do 2 things, to love and to be of service. So I committed my life there and then at the age of 13 to make a difference in the world. And I made a commitment that I would never do anything that was out of integrity, yeah, and that I would do my best to raise the consciousness of every human being that I had the opportunity to connect with, even on a tiny, even a shop assistant, just make them feel better about themselves. Just say something that makes them smile. And to the best of my knowing, that's what I've done.
Yeah. And you've been teaching, because I'd love to have the people that are listening have a deeper understanding of what Goddess is all about, what Spiral is all about, what Tantra is all about, because you have a lifetimes of wealth of information and passion that you live in accordance to. You live it. And I'd love for you to share what it is that you teach. Yeah.
Well, really quickly, because I have no idea how long we have, but Goddess came about because I'm sure many of your listeners will have heard of Robert Kiyosaki. And my life journey has been amazing. I look back on it and go, if I left today, I'd be really happy because I've done some amazing things. So I was lucky enough to meet a woman who had just come out of a mystery school in 1980. And so I flew to Hawaii and did a 1-month training with her and then brought her work back to Australia. And that was huge.
A mystery school is?
A place where her story was that she had gone to live in the Himalayas in a mystery school, and she'd been there for over 20 years. And then she was told to go out into the West and actually teach. And so I was lucky enough to hear one of her first talks because she was part of another organisation who brought her to the stage. And I really liked the other woman, so I trusted her. So I got involved, and it was about, interesting, the first thing that we did was the self-discipline pack, how to be disciplined, because most people are not. Most people go, yeah, I really want to drink kefir, but I can't be bothered making it this week. Or, yeah, I really want some almonds, but, you've got to soak them and sprout them, and it's just too hard, that kind of thing. So I did 3 years of that, and then I heard about a woman called DC Cordova who owned a seminar called Money and You, of which Robert Kiyosaki, the cash flow quadrant, rich dad, poor dad guy, was presenting at. So I went to Melbourne and did it, and it blew my socks off. I mean, literally, here were a group of people who came to this seminar thinking that it was about money and you, and really it was about you and you. And I came out of that committed to bringing Money and You to South Australia, which I did. And I brought it, I promoted Robert for 9 years. But the very first seminar that I ever did in South Australia, DC was there, the owner, and I would watch these women who would come up to me, because it was 68% games, and women would come up to me and go, I knew the answer to that. And I'd go, why didn't you go and tell Robert, And they'd say, oh, no, it's okay, let the guys do it. And so what I noticed over time was here were these incredibly magnificent, beautiful women who had no clue that they were powerful, that they were beautiful, that they could actually achieve whatever they wanted to achieve. So DC said to me one day, why don't we create a seminar for women? Because I was talking to her about it. So we created the Goddess Within, which was a 2-day workshop, 1 day all business, 1 day all spirit. She did the business, I did the spirit. And then at the end of the 1 day, she went back to Hawaii. She said, do whatever you want with it, Diane. So I changed it completely. And it's been going now for 29 years. And what do I do in it? It's really simple. I teach women to love themselves. I teach women to make that they do make a difference just by being them. And I do it through a whole series of different things. I have lots of great little tiny short videos, and I'm really big into health. I talk about health, I talk about birth and the impact that birth makes on your life, like whether you're a forceps birth versus a cesarean birth versus a twin, or having a stillborn twin, or whatever. Basically rebirthing technology, because the technology of rebirthing was very powerful. Patterns, why do we create the same patterns over and over and over and over again? That's why I say to people, you're going to get out of this relationship and get into another one? Great! I guarantee you, unless you sort your stuff out with this one, you're going to create the same thing with that one somewhere down the track. And even in terms of the people that we're attracted to, the shape of the body and Mick Jagger's a prime example, isn't he? You look at every woman he's ever been with, and they're all tall, lanky, blonde, gorgeous, and he would leave one, get another one, leave that one, get another one, leave that one, get another one, but they were all similar. So the way that I describe Goddess is there's a house, and the house needs something before it gets built, and that something obviously is a foundation. And the foundation that all of us pretty much have had, and you know this and I know this from Lifeline, is that the foundation is built on crumbling sand. Most of our foundations are not real. They are things that our parents were told, that they told us, that their parents told them, and we can go back eons. Like my favourite story is the story of the woman at Thanksgiving who cuts her turkey in half and puts it in the oven, and her husband says to her when she gets married, "Why did we do that?" She said, "Well, I don't know. My mother always did it." He says, "Well, ring your mother up and ask her." So he rings the mother up, and the mother says, "Well, darling, your grandmother always did it like that." So she rings her grandmother up and says, "Granny, why do we always cut the turkey in half?" And the grandmother said, "Well, the whole turkey wouldn't fit in the oven. And so I cut it in half." How many of us are doing stuff that we think is correct because someone told us that it was, and it isn't? So at Goddess, I get people to look and to experience what it's like to think for themselves and to love who they are. I used to do a lot of really cathartic stuff, not for long, but I did. And what I realized, because everyone who does Goddess, like everyone who does Lifeline, comes out of it and they're in love. They just feel differently about themselves. Everyone who has a Lifeline goes, "Oh, I just feel so different. I feel light. I feel this. I feel that." So at Goddess, I guess when I went through the cathartic stuff, and I would want to make people cry, that wasn't the goal, but, you do the cathartic stuff knowing that they would cry, knowing that after they've cried, they'll feel better. And it's like, and that was based on a whole lot of work that I did on myself in my 40s, in my 30s, when I left my first marriage. And what I realized is that every human being, this is how I see people as these beautiful beings of light that are encased in ice. Mm. And the way that I saw it is I come along with a big axe, determined that I am going to get them to see their soul, or free them. And I come along with this axe and I chop away at the axe, at the ice. And there's a really good chance that I could cut them and then they're going to bleed. And one day I just woke up and went, "Oh my God, if you just love them, you will melt the ice off." So that's why I just believe that the more we can love people and the more we can love ourselves, the more the old ice just melts off and leaves us whole, which of course is what Lifeline does too. Well, so that's Goddess.
Yeah, and it's profound. And for you, who you've been teaching that, and Robert doing Man's Inner Journey and Spiral, and then coming together for Tantra, then you found Lifeline. And in doing all that you do to love people and to serve people, and to empower and inspire people. On one level, why Lifeline? You've got so many tools. And why Lifeline for you?
I guess I was drawn to it, like I said in the beginning, through your book. Secondly, I was drawn to it because of who you are. You know, like you are one of the most remarkable men walking this planet. And, you know, you are a rarity in a world of modalities and personal development and education. And the reason for that is because you walk your walk and talk your talk. And you are one of the few people that I have ever met in 50 years who actually does that. And because integrity is my key value, I balance you well. And so when I heard your training the first time, I just got who you were. And for me, Lifeline is, for the number one thing is it works. And it works in every case. It's not a hit and miss thing. If you, like you say, if you use it, it works. If you don't use it, it doesn't work, right? So when I came to Chicago from Adelaide and had a session with Madge Barnes on day 2, and it was a really quick session. It wasn't even a proper session because we were running late and whatever.
How long was the session?
Maybe 10 minutes because, you know, I mean, I didn't even know what she was doing, to be honest. I was like, in another world. But she did what she did. And the next morning I woke up and my left eye was 100% flat. And, you know, the thing that fascinates me, Darren, is that we all say, oh, I really want my life to be like this. But then when it is, we go, oh, I don't believe it. That's exactly what I said. You know, I looked in the mirror and I went, I don't believe it. And so for me, why Lifeline? A, because it works. Let's start at the top, mainly because of you, because you are so knowledgeable and so clear in the way that you teach. You know, I'm doing the Lifeline Ignite online training with you, which I'm telling everyone, this is the best thing ever. I mean, there's thousands of online trainings, but the work that you put into making this the clearest, the simplest, you go over it. You are so patient with people. And that's really important because people, you know, I say there's very few adults walking around this planet, but there's millions of 3-year-olds in short pants, you know, throwing temper tantrums. This is too hard. I can't do it, you know. And you are so patient with them. So what I know is in every way, shape and form, Lifeline works. And so why wouldn't you do it, you know? I mean, I've done other things since I did Lifeline. I've done lots of other things because I'm a learner and I love to know what's out there, because then when people say to me, what's the difference between this and this, I can tell them from my perspective. It's no good me saying, oh, well, I don't know because I haven't done that. So, yeah, I'm happy to spend the money, go do somebody else's workshop. But seriously, from my heart, Darren, there is no one who does the kind of work that you do, who gets the kind of results that the Lifeline Technique gives people. And I love your integrity. And that's why we match, I guess, because that's where we started.
You know, I'm just moved beyond and thank you. And, you know, that is a true honor coming from you. And because there's no one in the world that I've ever met like you, and everybody's unique in their own way. But we definitely have a special connection, and you inspire me beyond. And so it's been a privilege for going over to Australia, sometimes up to twice a year, in teaching throughout Australia and meeting people and empowering people with the Lifeline certification program. It's been remarkable, you know, as far as, you know, whether it be people that are goddesses or man's inner journey or tantra, or whether it be people that that might not be into any particular modalities or anything like that, why would you recommend learning the Lifeline for yourself?
Because I think we have to take that word responsibility. Yeah. Like the majority from Money and You was a flip chart. And the flip chart is very strong in my mind. There was the word denial. And many people are in denial. My marriage is fine. My finances are fine. My life is fine. So they're all in denial. Above denial is a line. Above that is 2 words or 2 lines. Justify and lay blame. And a huge percentage of the world do that. Well, the reason that I'm the way that I am is because my mother did this, my father did that, my blah, blah, did whatever, my teacher did whatever. Above that, there's another line, and it's called, above that is responsibility. If we take responsibility, instead of believing that we have to go to someone else to be fixed, yeah, like, whether it be a doctor or a dentist or, well, perhaps that's a bit off, but, we expect somebody else to do it for us. Learning the Lifeline technique for yourself gives you the tools, which puts you back in the driver's seat. So you're driving your own bus. You can go, I feel like crap today. So have you done a connection? Have you done that today? Oh, no. Have you done the small ignite part, the first few steps of Lifeline? Oh, no. Well, do it, and you know that you'll feel better. So it's a self-healing tool, and it doesn't matter what's going on in your life. I don't care whether you're, upset because you had your computer stolen, or you're stressed because your child is ill, or your best friend is in pain, or your parents dying. It doesn't matter.
Your eyes are popping out of your head.
You just do the work,
right,
and you've got your solution. Why wouldn't you want a solution that works easily, fast, quickly, and that leaves you feeling, you know what, I feel different now. And you don't have to do the whole thing. You don't have to go through the whole Lifeline session if you haven't got time. But you can just do, even just doing the connection, is like, you can feel it. You can actually feel your body coming back into wholeness. So why do I recommend it? Because it's the best thing out there. I have been racking my brain how to get it into, this place, that place, this place, that place, because the world needs Lifeline. It's that simple. We need it everywhere. We need it in the prison systems. We need it in hospitals. We need it literally anywhere where there's stuff. And where isn't there stuff? We need it in schools, We need to be teaching little kids. Like if you had these little 5-year-olds sitting like this, just doing the connection. What difference would that make in the world? We have a world that's attempting to make us scared of everything. And for me, I just see it all as being, it's a game. It's my movie. There's a lot of scenes out there I don't like. So I just come back to myself and I just breathe and I bring my connection back to me and I feel better. And, there's not a day that goes by without I don't do the connection and steps whatever of the Lifeline technique.
Right. And life happens. Happens. We don't get to choose what happens, right? We get to choose how we respond. That ability to respond is taking responsibility and how important that is to recognize that we have the power to activate our body to be what it's designed, self-healing, that we have an ability to change our perception of how we're seeing ourselves and in the mirror or seeing the world around us. We have the ability to change relationships and to empower and be of service. And as far as, because I agree that the greatest virus is low self-esteem. It is such a limiting killer thought virus. across the board, it's pandemic, for people that are able to hear what you're saying and they struggle with their own sense of worth, their own sense of judging themselves rather than loving themselves. What advice as far as, where to begin for them to at least take a step to get some movement in the direction of authenticity and integrity for themselves?
When you brush your teeth in the morning, instead of looking down in the sink, look into those beautiful eyes. Just look at yourself in the mirror. You have to start somewhere. Start saying, I love you. I'm going to tell you a story, real quick one. At Goddess, I do a really beautiful process. And several years later, after this particular Goddess program, a woman came to do Spiral Journey. And I remember everyone. And I said to one of my team, who's that person? And they said, blah, blah. And I went, no, that's not her. And I went up to her and I said, I cannot believe how different you look. She said, I took two things from Goddess that I did on a regular basis. She said, when I did Goddess, I was 33. I hated everything about myself. I didn't have a relationship. I was desperate for a child. I didn't own my own home. My finances were in a mess. And my life was just a write-off. And I said, tell me more. What'd you do? She said, I just started looking in the mirror every single day and saying, I, with her name, really, really love you. And she said, to begin with, I couldn't even do it once. She said, I'd get the I with her name and then close her eyes because she couldn't do it. She said, but I was determined that I was going to keep going. And she said, eventually I got to where I could do it once and see myself and then twice. And eventually I got to do it 33 times. And she said, I do that every single day. And, if we could just honor the fact that inside us, there is a beautiful, beautiful little girl or a beautiful, beautiful little boy. If we could just see them and just hold them, just remember that's who we are. Yeah. That's who we were. And those parts of us, they're just waiting for us to love them. So, start anywhere, but start with the simplest thing, which is look in the mirror when you brush your teeth. And that's just step one. The truth for me, Darren, is that I learned to do everything that I learned to do because I hated who I was. There were a million times in my life. I mean, I tried to commit suicide after I left my husband. I was driving down a road and I saw a stubby pole, an electricity pole, and I thought, it'd be really easy for me to just drive that car.
I have had that same experience, sweetheart. I get it.
Yeah. And how many people, I ask, how many people have wanted to kill yourselves? And the number of hands that goes up is staggering. Yeah. And it all comes from that same thing of not loving ourselves enough. Right. So it's like, I say to people, if I can do it, trust me, you can do it. Because my hatred of my body, there wasn't one thing about myself that I could say that I actually even liked, never mind loved. I was a nail biter when I was a child, like it was just, actually it's funny because the only thing that I learned to love about me was my eyes. And of course, when I got exophthalmos, that was the thing that went. So it was like, oh shit, now there's nothing that I like about myself. So if I can learn to love me, anybody can learn to love them. Just start somewhere, write it down. You are lovable. I am lovable. She or he is lovable. Just look at it and observe your thoughts. What are your thoughts saying? No, you're not. No, she's not. Answer it. Yes, I am. We've just got to keep that self-talk in a positive way, not a negative way. We do enough negatives. There's enough negative stuff out there. It's time for love.
It is time. And for me, I love everything about you. And I am so grateful for this incredible opportunity to just have an intimate fireside talk and just chat with you and have people just be a part of our chat because you and I like to chat anyways. But just to be privy of an intimate conversation and a dear friendship, and you are someone that I completely admire. So thank you for sharing your goddess wisdom, your beauty, and yeah, infinite love and gratitude.
Infinite love and gratitude, and thank you for having me on, and I love you.
I love you, Sue.
Blessings, everyone.
Infinite love and gratitude.
Infinite love and gratitude.
I hope you enjoyed this Lifeline Master Series as much as I have. To learn more about the Lifeline Technique, click on the link below, and I'll see you on the other side. Keep shining bright. Infinite love and gratitude.